At the far ends of the Earth, where truth melts into the ice and the sun disappears for months, there exists a strange theory, one that is gaining more attention day by day. A theory that suggests the world we know is only a small part of a much bigger picture. A picture we've only barely begun to uncover. According to this theory, Antarctica, the frozen continent at the end of the world, is not just a mass of ice, but rather a massive ice wall surrounding the land we live on. A towering barrier, nearly impossible to cross, hiding behind it lands that have never been shown in modern maps. Entire continents unknown, untouched by human feet. But how did this theory begin? And why do some people believe in it so strongly? Let's go back centuries. Ancient maps have been found depicting unknown lands beyond the South Pole. One of the most famous is the Piri-Reis map, drawn in the early 1500s, which showed remarkably accurate details of Antarctica's coastline, even under the ice, long before the continent was officially discovered. How could someone in the 16th century know such things? Where did this knowledge come from? Over time, more claims and alleged leaks emerged. Secret maps showing fertile green lands beyond the ice wall, lands that don't appear in modern atlases. But this theory isn't just about maps. In 1959, a global treaty known as the Antarctic Treaty was signed. It banned any military activity or independent exploration in Antarctica. Since then, access to this region has been tightly controlled, restricted under complex permits and heavily monitored. Some believe the treaty isn't really about protecting nature, but about protecting a secret, something bigger, something hidden beyond the wall. The famous American pilot Richard Byrd, who led missions over the South Pole, once spoke in a rare interview about discovering a vast landmass beyond the ice, territories that don't appear on any map. His statements later vanished from most official records and were downplayed or dismissed, but those who heard them still remember. Was Byrd hinting at other continents? Was he silenced? Some versions of the theory go even further. They claim that beyond the ice wall lie advanced civilizations, perhaps remnants of Atlantis or Lemuria, or maybe beings from parallel realms. Some even say these hidden civilizations possess technology far beyond our own and watch us silently, keeping us from reaching them. All of this may sound like fiction, and perhaps it is. Modern science rejects the idea of undiscovered continents and insists that Earth has been fully mapped. But the question remains, if there's nothing there, why all the secrecy? Why do the world's most powerful nations restrict access to a region that supposedly has nothing to hide? And why do modern maps omit so many details from the edges of Antarctica? In a world controlled by information and power, hiding the truth becomes easy, especially if that truth would forever change how we see our world. Maybe, just maybe, we are living in a small bubble of this planet, surrounded by a barrier that keeps us in, while vast lands and continents lie hidden beyond. It could be just a theory, it could be a myth, but in every myth there's always a sliver of truth. And the question that haunts those who search is this: what if we're living inside boundaries drawn for us? And what if the truth is far greater than we ever imagined?
There is no doubt that you are familiar with this feeling. Who among us hasn't experienced it? Many of you still do not know how to explain this phenomenon, and that is the nature of science. This topic is not considered common, or rather no one dares to talk about it because they think this phenomenon doesn't exist and that they are the only ones experiencing it. Now focus with me, because I am about to reveal to you the truth you have always longed to know, through logical and realistic evidence within a framework that the mind can accept. The phenomenon of déjà vu is a mysterious experience in which a person feels as though they have lived through a certain situation before, even though they know it is their first time encountering it. The individual feels as if they have previously experienced the scene or event, despite having no actual memories or prior knowledge of it. This phenomenon is considered one of the enigmatic topics in psychology and neuroscience, and researchers are still trying to understand the mechanisms behind it and the possible causes. There are many different theories attempting to explain this phenomenon, ranging from the theory of implicit memory to the theory of pre-constructed information. As for the possible causes of this phenomenon, there may be a connection between memory and perception. A disruption in the coordination between these two cognitive processes could lead to a person feeling that the current situation has occurred before, even though it has not actually happened. Memory might generate a kind of prior expectation of the situation, while perception does not completely match this expectation. There is also the theory of prospective memory, which suggests that the mind has the ability to model and imagine possible future scenarios. This imagined future may later be confused with present reality, creating the feeling that the current moment has already happened before. In addition, some researchers link the déjà vu phenomenon to a kind of mental dissociation from the surrounding reality, similar to what happens in dreams. There may be a connection between this phenomenon and dreamlike experiences that a person goes through while awake. All those mixed emotions generate a feeling of losing control and stability. When a person feels that the current situation is familiar, even though they have never experienced it before, it creates a sense of losing grip on the situation and a detachment from reality. This sensation of disconnection and separation from the present moment can be disturbing and confusing. It may lead to feelings of anxiety, tension, and uncertainty about what is happening. This loss of coherence and control over the situation is one of the main psychological effects of the phenomenon, which can be difficult for some individuals to cope with. Understanding this significant impact helps in grasping the perplexing nature of this psychological phenomenon. Glory be to God. The fundamental difference between the phenomenon of déjà vu and memories of the past is that déjà vu is a feeling of familiarity with a present moment, whereas past memories involve the actual recollection of previous events. In the case of déjà vu, a person feels as though they have experienced the current situation before, even though they have not. In contrast, with past memories, the person remembers real past events. This essential distinction helps in understanding the confusing and unsettling nature of déjà vu compared to ordinary memories. The person struggles to distinguish between reality and an unwarranted sense of familiarity.
Have you ever suddenly felt afraid without fully understanding why? Have you found yourself overwhelmed by anxiety, your heart racing, as if something was threatening you? That is fear, an ancient, primal emotion that lives deep within us and quietly shapes many of our actions. Fear is a biological, instinctive response, hardwired into our nervous system, designed to protect us from danger. When your brain detects a threat, real or imagined, a complex system springs into action. The amygdala, a tiny part of the brain, acts like an internal alarm. It sends signals to other brain regions, triggering a chain reaction. Your heartbeat quickens, muscles tense, you start sweating, and your breathing speeds up. This is known as the fight or flight response, your body preparing to either confront the threat or run from it. But what if the danger isn't real? What if the threat exists only in your thoughts? That's when fear becomes a problem. At its core, fear isn't a negative emotion. It's a survival tool. In ancient times, fear of predators or natural forces kept humans alive. But today, threats aren't always physical. We fear failure, rejection, loneliness, change, uncertainty, the future. Here's the surprising part. Your brain often doesn't distinguish between a real danger and an imagined one. Whether you're actually facing a lion or simply worrying about an awkward conversation, your body responds in almost the same way. Fear, then, isn't just instinctual. It's woven into our thoughts, memories, and imagination. There are many different types of fear. First, there's natural fear, a healthy, logical reaction. like fear of fire or falling. Then there's learned fear, developed over time through experience or upbringing, such as fear of the dark or of public speaking. There's also phobia, or irrational fear, like an extreme reaction to small spaces, flying, or even buttons. And finally, there's existential fear, the kind tied to life's deepest questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What happens after death? Does my life have meaning? A child fears the dark because they don't understand it. An adult fears the unknown because they can't control it. In both cases, ignorance and uncertainty are at the root of fear, which is why the first step to overcoming fear is understanding it. But can we live without fear? In truth, no. Fear is necessary. It's our internal warning system. The problem isn't fear itself, it's when fear takes control, when it begins to dictate your choices, delay your actions, and limit your growth. Then fear stops protecting you and starts imprisoning you. So how do we deal with fear? We don't eliminate it. We learn to move through it. We don't silence it. We listen to what it's trying to tell us. Sometimes, fear means you're about to grow. It signals that you're leaving your comfort zone, stepping into the unfamiliar, approaching something new and possibly life-changing. Facing fear doesn't mean ignoring it. It means recognizing it, naming it, and acting despite it. Here are a few powerful strategies. First, conscious breathing. When fear strikes, focus on your breath. Inhale for 5 seconds. Exhale for 5 seconds. This helps calm your nervous system. Second, naming your fear. Ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of? Failure? Judgment? Loss? Putting fear into words makes it less powerful. Third, writing. Write down your fears on paper. Seeing them clearly can help you realize they're not as overwhelming as they seemed. Fourth, gradual exposure. Don't run from what scares you. Approach it slowly, step by step. Fifth, seeking support. Talk to someone you trust. Sometimes deep-rooted fear requires guidance, and there's no shame in asking for help. In the end, fear is not your enemy. It's a teacher. It shows you what matters to you, what you don't yet understand, and what still needs healing. Every person who ever did something meaningful felt fear, but they walked through it, and that made all the difference. Remember, fear will never disappear completely, but it doesn't need to be the one in control. Everything you dream of, every goal you chase, every version of yourself you long to become, is waiting on the other side of fear. Step toward it, and you'll see the wall was only a shadow.
Imagine a quiet night. You look up at the sky, stars scattered across the black canvas, galaxies swirling in silence. But what if that silence isn't real? What if space is full of whispers, whispers we just haven't learned to hear yet? In 1977, something strange happened. Astronomer Jerry Amon was monitoring the skies using a giant radio telescope known as the Big Ear in Ohio. Suddenly, a strong, unusual signal appeared, lasting for only 72 seconds. It wasn't noise, it wasn't interference, it was something else. Jerry was so stunned that he circled the signal and wrote one word next to it: "Wow." That's how it became known as the WOW signal, a one-time, unexplained burst that has never repeated, and whose source remains a mystery. And ever since, the big question has haunted scientists. Was someone trying to speak to us? But the WOW signal wasn't the only mystery. In recent decades, a new phenomenon has emerged, one that's even more puzzling. They're called fast radio bursts, or FRBs. These are ultra-short flashes of radio energy, lasting mere milliseconds, but carrying as much power as the sun produces in an entire day. The first was discovered in 2007, and since then, we've detected dozens. Some occur once and vanish forever. Others repeat again and again from the exact same spot in the sky, as if someone or something is trying to send a message. In 2020, astronomers detected a repeating signal coming from a galaxy over 500 million light-years away. It pulsed in regular cycles every 16 days. Same pattern, same strength, same rhythm. Imagine that. Something sending clockwork signals from 500 million light years across the void. Scientists have suggested these bursts may be caused by neutron stars or exotic cosmic collisions. But the truth is, we don't really know. And the more we discover, the stranger it gets. So we return to the deeper question: are we alone in the universe? Our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains more than 100 billion stars. Almost all of them may have planets orbiting around them. And there are billions of other galaxies, each with their own billions of stars. The numbers are beyond comprehension. Could Earth really be the only place where intelligent life has evolved? That's the heart of the famous Fermi paradox. If intelligent life is statistically likely, then where is everyone? One possible answer? A chilling theory known as the dark forest hypothesis. Imagine the universe as a vast, dark forest. Every civilization is like a hunter, hiding, afraid to make a sound. Because any noise, any message could reveal your location and lead to your destruction. In that view, all advanced civilizations stay silent out of fear. And those signals we do hear might be rare moments of risk, or accidents, or final words. But humans didn't stay silent. In 1974, we sent the Arecibo message, a radio signal aimed at the stars, encoded with information about humanity, our DNA, our solar system, and simple images. We also launched the Voyager spacecraft, carrying golden records with music from Earth, greetings in 55 languages, and illustrations of human life. Messages to whoever might be out there. Will anyone ever find them? Maybe, but space is vast. Even light takes years, sometimes thousands of years, to travel between stars. Still, we listen. The SETI project, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, uses the world's largest telescopes to scan the sky for signals. It focuses on patterns, regularities, and anything that doesn't look random. And recently, AI has joined the search, analyzing mountains of data for hidden signals we might have missed. In 2023, scientists announced 8 possible signals that may not be natural. We don't have proof yet, but the door is opening wider. Alongside science, conspiracies also grow. Some believe governments already made contact, but are hiding the truth. Leaks, rumors, documentaries all suggest a deeper story. Is it fantasy? Or is it a truth too big to reveal? For now, we don't know. But what we do know is this: the universe is not silent. It speaks, sometimes in whispers, sometimes in bursts. And we are just beginning to learn how to listen. Every signal we detect holds a possibility. Every stretch of silence holds a question. And with every step into the stars, we move closer to an answer. Is someone listening to us now? Is someone waiting for our reply? And do we have the courage to respond? Maybe one day, in this infinite cosmic ocean, a message will arrive. Clear, simple, with just one word: hello. Every night, the world around us fades. We close our eyes and the body sleeps, but the mind begins to wander. We enter a realm beyond logic, beyond time, beyond control. A place where the impossible becomes normal, where we fly, fall, meet the dead, relive the past, or glimpse a future that hasn't happened. But what is this place we go to each night? Why do we dream? And do dreams really mean anything? Or are they just random noise? For centuries, we've searched for answers. The Egyptians believed dreams were messages from the gods. The Greeks thought they revealed fate. Indigenous cultures saw them as sacred paths to the spirit world. And today, science calls them brain activity, neural signals, memory processing, emotional release. But if dreams are just biology, why do they feel so personal? Why do they move us, disturb us, sometimes heal us? Freud said dreams reveal our hidden desires. Jung believed they speak in symbols, guiding us to the parts of ourselves we ignore. He called dreams the language of the soul, and maybe he was right. Because a dream can show you something you've been avoiding in waking life. It doesn't use logic or words. It speaks through image, through emotion, through mystery. You dream of being lost. Maybe you're not lost in space, but in life. You dream of running. Maybe you're not escaping danger, but a truth. You dream of flying. Maybe not to rise, but to be free. What if the people in your dreams aren't just characters, but pieces of yourself? The brave part, the hurt part, the part that still believes. Some dreams are random, yes, but some echo. They return. They linger in your chest, like a memory you never lived. They don't shout, they whisper. And if you listen closely, they might be saying, "Slow down, pay attention. Something inside you is changing." Dreams may not always be clear, but they are always honest. They show you what your waking mind filters out. They offer you a mirror without judgment. And sometimes they offer you healing. You grieve in a dream and feel lighter in the morning. You face a fear and wake up braver. You meet someone who's gone and feel seen again. Not all dreams carry meaning, but the ones that do, they're sacred. Not because they predict the future, but because they reveal the present, who you are, what you're afraid to feel, what you deeply want but haven't yet said aloud. So instead of asking, "What does this dream mean?" maybe ask, "What is this dream trying to tell me about myself?" Because dreams may not be puzzles to solve, but reflections to feel. They are not distractions from life. They are part of life. A nightly return to the unknown parts of you. You don't have to interpret every dream. Just pay attention, be curious, write them down, let them speak. Because somewhere between the sleep and the silence, your truest self is trying to be heard. And maybe, just maybe, dreams aren't trying to escape reality, but helping you wake up to it. That ringing in your ears. Could it be the last sound you hear before silence becomes unbearable? Or maybe the first sign that silence isn't empty at all, but full of truths you've been avoiding? What if the sound itself isn't the problem, but what it reveals? We've learned to fear discomfort, to mute anything that doesn't entertain, explain, or comfort us. But real awareness doesn't whisper through pleasure. It often screams through stillness. And sometimes, that scream takes the form of a single tone. A tone that says, "Slow down, pay attention. Something is off." Not in your ear, in your life. The ringing could be your body's way of saying, "I can't keep up with the pace you're forcing me into." Or your soul saying, "You've ignored me for too long." Maybe the ringing begins when your mind wants silence, but your spirit needs a voice. Maybe it's the conflict between your outer life and your inner truth, vibrating in your head like a hidden alarm. Think about it. When does it appear? Not in the chaos, but in the quiet after, when your head hits the pillow, when the scrolling stops, when you're no longer distracted, when there's finally space. That's when the forgotten parts of you start to rise, the parts that never got to speak, the pain you postponed, the truth you buried, the dreams you abandoned, and now they echo subtly, invisibly through your own nervous system. It's not a glitch, it's a reminder. In many ways, the ringing is a mirror, not of the outside world, but of your inner frequency. And like any signal, it won't go away by ignoring it. It asks for attention, for presence. It asks you to tune in, not turn away. And here's the hard truth. Most of us don't want to listen, not because the sound is unbearable, but because we're afraid of what comes with it. We're afraid of silence, of facing ourselves, of finding out that our discomfort was never about the ringing, but about everything else it brings to the surface. But the ones who listen, really listen, they start to see the pattern. They learn that the body speaks in symptoms. The mind speaks in loops. But the soul speaks in stillness. And sometimes in ringing. You can choose to ignore it, call it random, treat it like an error. Or you can be brave enough to ask, what am I not hearing in my life? That question might lead you somewhere unexpected, somewhere sacred, somewhere only silence can reach. And maybe, just maybe, what you thought was a problem was a calling. So the next time it comes, the sound, the ringing, the strange echo within, don't rush to cover it up. Don't run back into the noise. Let it speak. Let it vibrate. Let it tell you something the world forgot to mention, that there is music even in silence, that your body is wise, that your soul remembers, and that sometimes healing begins with a sound only you can hear. It begins as a whisper beneath the skin, a subtle nudge, a quiet irritation that demands attention. You scratch without thinking, almost instinctively, as if your fingers know something your mind doesn't. But what is itch? Why does it exist? And why does such a minor sensation possess such an urgent, irresistible pull on our focus? Science tells us that an itch, medically known as pruritus, is the result of chemical signals like histamines interacting with nerve endings in the skin, a warning system, a survival tool, a way for the body to tell us something's wrong here, a parasite, an irritant, a wound, and in that sense, itch is protective, an evolutionary mechanism to safeguard our most vulnerable layer. But biology only explains the how. It doesn't touch the why we experience it the way we do. Why an itch can drive us to madness. Why sometimes it appears without reason. Think about it. The sensation of itch blurs the boundary between the physical and the mental. We itch in our sleep. We itch when we're anxious. Some people itch under stress, under fear, under guilt. There are cases where people feel phantom itches on limbs that no longer exist. So what are we scratching at, really? Is it the skin or something beneath it? In many ancient cultures, itching was more than a bodily reaction. It was an omen, a superstition. If your left palm itched, it meant money was coming. If your right foot itched, you were about to travel. They believed the skin was a messenger, a canvas where the invisible spoke in codes. Today we call it nonsense. But maybe, in some strange way, they were onto something, because if you sit with it, if you resist scratching, you begin to realize that itch is a conversation, a silent dialogue between you and your body, between your mind and your nerves. It says, notice me. Something here needs your awareness. And often it isn't the skin that needs healing, it's the self. Itch has no volume, but it screams. It has no form, but it insists. You can ignore hunger, suppress thirst, even tolerate pain. But an itch, it creeps, it claws, it demands participation, like a thought you can't unthink, like an idea that won't leave. And maybe that's its greatest mystery. It reflects something deeper than skin, something profoundly human. Because isn't that what we do? We reach, we scratch, we dig beneath the surface, always trying to find the source of discomfort. Not just in our bodies, but in our lives. An itch is more than a nerve impulse. It's a metaphor for unrest, for questions left unanswered, for the small, invisible irritations that accumulate over time. A signal that something, somewhere, is not quite right. And so the next time you feel that subtle tingle beneath your skin, pause. Don't rush to silence it. Listen. There may be something deeper trying to surface, because in the language of the body, itch is not noise. It's a whisper, and every whisper holds a secret. Why is it that when someone yawns, we almost instinctively follow? What secret is hidden in this simple, silent reflex? It's easy to dismiss a yawn as just a response to tiredness or boredom, But look closer. Beneath its surface lies a fascinating interplay of neuroscience, ancient survival, and emotional connection. When you see someone yawn and then feel your own body pull into that same slow inhale, mouth wide open, eyes narrowing, it's not coincidence, it's connection. Science points us toward mirror neurons, specialized brain cells that fire not only when we perform an action, but when we observe someone else doing the same. These neurons don't just mirror behavior, they echo empathy. They allow us to feel without touch, to respond without thought. So when someone next to you yawns, your brain reacts as though it is you who is tired. Your body joins in, not because it must, but because it understands. It feels, and it responds. But this reflex isn't just about neurons, it's also about survival. In ancient times, when humans lived in tight-knit groups, synchronized behavior meant safety. If one member of the group sensed fatigue or danger, their yawn could signal the rest. Stay alert, rest now, move together. Yawning became a communal language, a quiet ritual of unity, and it hasn't left us. We still yawn when others do. Not just because we're tired, but because on some primal level, we are still tribes, still wired to tune into one another. And what's even more intriguing, this contagious yawn happens more among close ones. Family, friends, people we trust. Strangers might not trigger the same echo because the yawn is not only biological, it is emotional. It whispers, I feel what you feel. I am with you. I mirror your state. In that shared moment, two people, two bodies, briefly become one rhythm. A rhythm without words, a bond without reason, a signal without intention, and perhaps that's what makes us human. Not just the ability to yawn, but the ability to catch one from someone else. The silent way we say, I see you, I feel you, I am with you. So next time someone yawns and you follow, don't just laugh it off, recognize it. That simple act is empathy in motion. It is the invisible thread that ties us, body to body, breath to breath. A fleeting, beautiful reminder that we are never truly separate. Is luck real, or just a pattern of perception in psychology? For centuries, humans have gazed at the skies, thrown dice, flipped coins, whispered prayers, or clutched lucky charms, all in the hope that the unseen forces of luck would tip the scales in their favor. But what is luck really? Is it a tangible force that intervenes in our lives, granting fortune to some and withholding it from others? Or is it merely a lens, a mental filter through which we interpret randomness, chance, and coincidence in a world too chaotic for full comprehension? To approach this question, we must first understand the psychological architecture of the human mind. Our brains are not built to accept randomness easily. From an evolutionary standpoint, detecting patterns, whether real or imagined, has often meant the difference between survival and death. If your ancestors saw rustling grass and assumed a predator, even when it was just the wind, they lived to see another day. Those who didn't perceive a pattern might have perished. This cognitive bias toward pattern recognition is deeply embedded in our psyche. It is this same bias that lays the groundwork for our perception of luck. When events unfold in our favor, especially in unpredictable or uncontrollable circumstances, we tend to attribute these outcomes to good luck. Conversely, when things go awry, we often blame bad luck. But are these forces truly external? Or are they self-imposed narratives we construct to make sense of complexity? Psychology tells us that the answer leans heavily toward the latter. The concept of illusory correlation, where people perceive a relationship between events that are actually unrelated, is one of the foundational insights here. A gambler might wear a specific shirt every time they win, believing it brings luck. In reality, the shirt has no influence, but the brain connects the outcome to the context to form meaning. This is the birth of superstition, which is luck's closest sibling. Luck, then, may be less of a force and more of a story we tell ourselves to explain the inexplicable, to feel a sense of agency in a world that often seems indifferent. When we feel out of control, luck offers a balm. It soothes our fear of chaos. It gives hope where there is no logic and comfort where there is no control. Yet, this story is not without its consequences. The belief in luck can be empowering or paralyzing, depending on its context. In some cases, attributing success to luck can foster humility and gratitude. In others, it can diminish personal responsibility or effort. If you believe your fate is entirely governed by chance, why try at all? But if you think a little luck will help, you might take that first bold step into the unknown. Interestingly, psychological studies have shown that people who consider themselves lucky tend to engage in behaviors that increase their chances of success. They're more open to new experiences, more observant of opportunities, and more resilient in the face of failure. In other words, believing in luck, ironically, might make you luckier simply because of how it changes your behavior. This is known as the self-fulfilling prophecy. The mind doesn't just observe reality, it shapes it. If you expect good fortune, you might subconsciously act in ways that create it. If you anticipate failure, you might miss doors that were slightly ajar simply because you weren't looking. Perception doesn't merely color our experiences, it often defines them. This raises another compelling question. If luck is a perception, can it be trained? Can we become luckier by reshaping our mental frameworks? Some psychologists argue yes. Through practices like gratitude, mindfulness, and cognitive reframing, we can shift our focus from scarcity to possibility. We can notice patterns of opportunity instead of threats. We can reframe misfortunes as stepping stones instead of dead ends. Luck in this light becomes less about external forces and more about internal alignment. It's about noticing rather than receiving, participating rather than waiting. It's a dance with uncertainty, where your posture matters as much as your partner. And yet, we cannot fully escape the reality of chance. Some events are simply beyond our control. Accidents, illnesses, genetic lotteries, geopolitical chaos. These are not figments of perception. They are the hard randomness of existence. To ignore this would be naive, but to surrender completely to it would be nihilistic. The sweet spot lies in the balance, acknowledging randomness while cultivating a mindset that tilts the odds in your favor. This dual awareness of chaos and choice is the essence of human experience. We walk a tightrope stretched between destiny and decision, between what we can shape and what we must endure. In this space, luck is neither fact nor fiction. It is myth, metaphor, and motivation. It is the language we use to cope with unpredictability and the spirit we invoke to keep moving forward. So is luck real? Perhaps not in the scientific sense, but in the psychological and emotional landscapes we inhabit, it is as real as hope, fear, love, and meaning. It shapes how we interpret our stories, how we build our beliefs, and how we choose to act in the face of uncertainty. Luck, then, is not something we find. It's something we live. Time is strange. One moment stretches forever, the next vanishes in a blink. You sit through a dull lecture, watching the seconds crawl like wounded insects. Then suddenly, you find yourself lost in a conversation, a sunset, or a memory, and hours disappear without warning. But why? Why does time sometimes drag its feet and other times sprint ahead like it's running from something? Is it broken, or is it simply a reflection, a mirror of our own perception? Not a ticking clock on the wall, but a rhythm that plays differently inside each of us. To begin, we must understand something fundamental. Time, as we experience it, isn't objective. Our brains don't perceive seconds and minutes with mechanical precision. Time is elastic, shaped by emotion, focus, novelty, and memory. It bends in response to the inner storms of our consciousness. When we say time flies, we're not describing a physical fact. We're revealing a psychological truth. We don't live in time. Time lives in us. Think of childhood. Remember how summers used to feel endless? Each day was packed with firsts. new experiences, new sensations, new challenges. The world was a playground of uncertainty, and the brain, soaking it all in, formed dense, detailed memories. The more memories we form, the longer a period feels in retrospect. This is why a single childhood summer feels longer than a decade of adulthood. Novelty stretches time, repetition compresses it. As we grow older, life becomes more routine. We take the same route to work. We have the same conversations. We eat the same meals. Our brains stop encoding details because there's nothing new to notice. So, in the moment, time feels fast because we're not truly present. And in memory, it feels even faster, like it never happened at all. Emotions also play tricks on time. Fear, for instance, slows things down. When we're in danger, our senses sharpen, our attention narrows, and our brain records more information per second. That's why car crashes, near-death experiences, or moments of panic feel like slow motion. The world doesn't actually move slower. We just notice more of it. Conversely, joy and excitement speed time up, not because we observe less, but because we stop tracking. We let go. We lose ourselves. And when the moment passes, we realize we were too immersed to measure. Then there's boredom, that strange vacuum of the soul. In boredom, time becomes heavy. Each minute demands attention. We keep checking the clock, dragging ourselves forward, step by painful step. Ironically, though time feels slow in the moment, these periods leave few memories behind. In hindsight, they vanish. A week of monotony feels like nothing. It's as if boredom steals time from both the present and the past. Technology doesn't help. We scroll endlessly, flicking through videos, posts, and reels. Each one lasts seconds, but we spend hours. We're consuming novelty, yes, but not engaging with it. Our brains can't form meaningful memories of this digital blur. So while time might seem fast during the scroll, it feels even faster afterward, like a dream we barely remember. So what can we do? Are we prisoners of this temporal illusion? Or can we reclaim time, not as a fixed measure, but as a lived experience? The answer lies not in trying to slow time, but in learning how to fill it. Pay attention, seek novelty, break routine, have conversations that matter, walk unfamiliar paths, listen deeply, taste slowly, write, even if no one reads, create, even if no one watches. Because time doesn't slow down when we're doing nothing. It slows down when we're fully awake, when we're truly alive. In the end, time is less about how long we live and more about how deeply. A day filled with awareness can feel like a year. A decade of unconscious repetition can vanish without a trace. So when we say time flies, what we're really saying is, I wasn't paying attention. And when time drags, it's not because it's being cruel, it's begging us to notice. Maybe time isn't a river flowing outside us. Maybe it's the current we generate by how we move, what we see, and who we become. And in that sense, time isn't passing. We are. Why are we so afraid, of being alone? We live in a world that never stops speaking, a world saturated with voices, notifications, advertisements, opinions, and noise. A world where being alone is often equated with being unloved, unwanted, or broken. And yet, beneath all that noise, there's a quiet truth that keeps trying to surface. We are terrified of silence, not because it's empty, but because it's full of the one person we spend our entire lives trying to escape, ourselves. From the moment we wake up, we are pulled outward. We reach for our phones before we even open our eyes. We scroll, we click, we watch. We fill every second with distractions, as if the silence might devour us if we gave it a chance. But what exactly are we running from? Why is solitude so uncomfortable? Maybe it's because when you're alone, truly alone, there's nothing left to distract you from your thoughts. No one to impress, no one to validate your existence. It's just you, stripped of titles, followers, obligations, and appearances. In that space, you're forced to confront the raw, unfiltered version of yourself. and that can be terrifying. Most people think they fear loneliness because they crave companionship. But what if that's only part of the story? What if we also fear loneliness because it makes us realize how dependent we are on others to define who we are? Think about it. Without someone watching, do we still feel the need to perform? Without an audience, do we still matter? We've built identities out of mirrors, the reflections we see in the eyes of others. Take those mirrors away, and we feel like we disappear. But that disappearance is an illusion. The truth is, we were always there. We just never looked directly. Solitude forces us to look, to sit with our regrets, our insecurities, our forgotten dreams, our fears, but it also offers something else, something far more rare, far more profound: clarity. In solitude, we begin to hear the whisper beneath the noise, the voice that's always been there, patiently waiting, your own. And maybe that's why solitude is so feared, because once you hear your true voice, you can never go back to pretending. You can no longer live a life built entirely on the expectations of others. You start to question things. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? Does this even make me happy? Most people don't want those questions. They want certainty. They want comfort. They want the familiar noise that drowns out doubt. But some, the brave ones, they choose the silence. Not because it's easy, but because it's honest. Because it's only in solitude that we can meet ourselves without filters. And only when we meet ourselves can we begin to truly connect with others. Because think about it, if you don't know who you are, how can anyone else? If you can't enjoy your own company, how can you ever believe someone else genuinely does? If you're always running from your own mind, then every relationship becomes a hiding place, not a connection. This is why solitude isn't loneliness. Loneliness is a hunger, a lack, a void. But solitude is presence, stillness, depth. Loneliness says, I'm empty without someone. Solitude says, I'm whole, even when I'm alone. But to reach that solitude, we must pass through the fear, the discomfort, the silence. It's a rite of passage, one that's been walked by mystics, philosophers, artists, monks, and seekers for centuries. They knew what we often forget, that the self isn't found in the crowd, but in the quiet. There's a reason why many spiritual traditions retreat into silence, why great minds disappear for months into the mountains or forests. It's not because they hate people, it's because they understand something sacred happens when the world fades away and the inner world begins to speak. But today, solitude is harder than ever. We carry distractions in our pockets. We fear missing out. We tie our worth to how many messages we receive, how many likes we collect, how many people validate our existence online. So we avoid solitude. We call it boring, lonely, a waste of time. But maybe what we call boring is just unfamiliar. Maybe it's not solitude that's uncomfortable. Maybe it's the parts of ourselves we've never learned to sit with, the anger, the sadness, the silence. Because solitude is a mirror. It reflects everything, the beautiful, the broken, the hidden, and the true. And once we see it, we can't unsee it. But we can begin to heal it. You begin to realize you're not your job. You're not your achievements. You're not your mistakes. You're not even your thoughts. You're something deeper, something quieter, something unshakable. And that realization is freedom. Because once you're no longer afraid of being alone, you become dangerous in the best way. You stop chasing empty validation. You stop fearing rejection. You stop settling for shallow connections. You start living with intention, choosing relationships, not needing them, creating from authenticity, not approval. You become rooted in something the world can't touch, your own being. And from that place, you can love without clinging, give without losing, exist without pretending. You start to see that being alone is not a punishment. It's a practice, a return, a remembering. Because in the end, we are all alone. Even in the most crowded room, no one can feel your thoughts but you. No one can carry your soul. No one can breathe your last breath. But aloneness doesn't have to be frightening. It can be sacred. It can be the place where you stop searching for yourself in others and start finding yourself within. So the next time you feel that ache of loneliness, don't run, don't scroll, don't numb, sit, breathe, listen. There is something inside you that you've been avoiding, and it is tired of being ignored. Let it speak, because beneath all the fear, beneath all the noise, beneath all the masks, you will find someone you've always longed to meet, you. And when you finally meet yourself, not as the world sees you, not as you pretend to be, but as you truly are, you realize you were never really alone. You were simply waiting. Imagine this. You're drifting within the realm of a dream, a vivid tapestry of events unfolding around you like scenes in a surreal film. Suddenly, amid this fantastical narrative, a quiet yet powerful thought strikes your mind. Wait, this isn't real. I'm dreaming. This rare and astonishing moment is what scientists and dream enthusiasts call lucid dreaming, a unique state of consciousness where your mind becomes aware that it is inside a dream. Even more fascinating, in many cases, you gain the ability to influence, alter, or even completely take control of the dream's events, bending the fabric of your inner world to your will. But why does this phenomenon occur? And why only sometimes? Why is it that for the vast majority of our dreams, no matter how strange, illogical, or impossible they appear, we accept them as normal, moving through their scenes without question? Yet on rare occasions, we wake up within the dream itself, recognizing its unreal nature. To answer these questions, we first need to dive deeper into what happens inside the brain during sleep, a state as mysterious as it is essential to our survival. Sleep is not a singular, uniform state, but rather a cycle of stages that repeat throughout the night. Among these stages, one stands out as particularly significant when it comes to dreaming: REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. This phase is where most vivid, colorful, and emotionally charged dreams occur. During REM sleep, your brain becomes extraordinarily active, showing electrical patterns almost as intense as those when you are fully awake. Yet, intriguingly, certain regions of the brain, most notably the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for higher cognitive functions like logic, reasoning, decision-making, and self-awareness, tend to quiet down or become less active. This diminished activity in the prefrontal cortex explains why, in most dreams, you might find yourself in utterly bizarre situations, perhaps talking to a cat dressed in a suit while riding a flying bus. And yet, you accept these oddities without question, as if they were entirely normal. Your critical thinking and skepticism are temporarily suspended, allowing the dream to unfold freely and uninhibited by waking logic. However, sometimes a remarkable exception occurs. The prefrontal cortex partially lights up again, not to the full extent it has during wakefulness, but just enough to ignite a spark of awareness within the dream's narrative. It's as though a small flame of consciousness pierces the dense fog of the dream world, whispering softly, "You do realize this isn't real, don't you?" This ignition is the essence of lucid dreaming, that delicate, thrilling moment when you realize you are inside a dream. Once lucidity dawns, the entire dreamscape can shift dramatically. Suddenly, you are no longer a passive observer or helpless participant. Instead, you may choose to transform the setting, to fly effortlessly through endless skies, to meet figures from history or fiction, or to revisit treasured memories long past. Some lucid dreamers harness this extraordinary power to explore the depths of their creativity, to confront and overcome fears in a safe, controlled environment, or to practice real-world skills by mentally rehearsing perfect performances. Others simply delight in the exhilarating freedom of bending reality's rules, knowing they are limited only by their imagination. What often triggers this moment of lucid realization? Many lucid dreams begin with a jarring recognition, an impossibility or anomaly so stark that your brain cannot ignore it. It could be the endless accumulation of money appearing from nowhere, running through thick mud that slows you down like glue, soaring through the air with zero effort, traversing landscapes that defy physical laws, or unexpectedly encountering loved ones who have long passed away, alive and vibrant once again. These unmistakable red flags spark that moment of awareness, pulling you into lucidity. Lucid dreaming is, in essence, a fascinating hybrid state of consciousness, neither fully asleep nor fully awake. Your body and much of your mind remain in the depths of sleep, yet a portion of your awareness rises to the surface, enabling self-reflection and critical thought. Neuroscientific studies using brain imaging techniques have confirmed that the prefrontal cortex exhibits increased activity during lucid dreams compared to normal dreaming. Interestingly, individuals who naturally possess strong metacognitive abilities, that is, those with a keen awareness of their own thoughts and mental processes, tend to experience lucid dreams more frequently. The practical applications of lucid dreaming extend far beyond mere amusement. For some, it becomes a therapeutic tool, helping them confront nightmares by consciously facing their fears and anxieties in a safe dream environment. For others, it offers a playground for personal development, allowing visualization and mental rehearsal that can enhance real-life skills and performances. Artists, writers, and inventors often seek inspiration within their lucid dreams, tapping into the brain's ability to generate novel ideas unbounded by physical constraints. Despite the intellectual awareness that this is a dream, the sensations within a lucid dream can feel startlingly vivid, colors more radiant than waking life, sounds sharper and more immersive, emotions more intense and raw. This heightened sensory experience arises because the brain is entirely responsible for producing the dream's content without any sensory input from the external world, creating a pure, unfiltered, internal reality. Remarkably, lucid dreaming is not just a spontaneous gift, it can be cultivated and enhanced through practice. Techniques like maintaining a detailed dream journal improve dream recall and reinforce the habit of recognizing dream signs. Performing reality checks throughout the day, simple tests to verify whether you're awake or dreaming, trains your mind to question reality consistently. The wake back to bed method, involving briefly waking during the night and then returning to sleep with the intention of entering a lucid dream, has also proven effective in increasing the frequency of these experiences. Yet beyond the surface-level excitement and control, lucid dreaming offers a profound window into the nature of consciousness itself. It challenges our assumptions about what is real and what is illusion. If our brains can conjure entire worlds, complete with characters, narratives, and emotions, while we sleep, what does this imply about the way we perceive and construct reality during our waking hours? Are the boundaries between the real world and the world of dreams as rigid as we tend to believe? Lucid dreaming serves as a mirror reflecting the malleability of our conscious experience, a realm where imagination and awareness intertwine. Perhaps the greatest adventure we can undertake is the exploration of our own minds, where the landscapes are infinite and the only limits are those we impose ourselves. Lucid dreaming invites us to step beyond the ordinary constraints of daily life, to realize that reality is not just something out there, but something we actively shape, both asleep and awake. It is a reminder that within the depths of our consciousness lies a universe waiting to be discovered, and that sometimes the most astonishing journeys begin not in distant lands, but in the limitless expanse of our own inner worlds. Imagine a vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, stretching endlessly, a liquid canvas painted in endless shades of blue, deep enough to seem infinite, mysterious enough to unsettle even the most seasoned sailors. Somewhere within this boundless sea lies a triangle, its corners connecting Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, forming a geometric shape that has become synonymous with disappearance, mystery, and human fascination. Here, in this seemingly ordinary stretch of water, the very fabric of reality appears to falter. Compasses spin inexplicably. Vessels vanish without trace. Aircraft lose all contact with the world, swallowed by a space that defies explanation. The Bermuda Triangle is not merely a location, it is a phenomenon, a riddle written across the ocean, challenging our understanding of physics, nature, and the human psyche. The first whispers of the triangle reach back centuries, though early sailors would never have used the term. They spoke of strange lights appearing in the night sky, sudden squalls rising from calm waters, and navigational instruments behaving erratically. Legends tell of ghost ships appearing briefly on the horizon, only to vanish as mysteriously as they appeared, leaving behind an unsettling silence. Among the earliest modern incidents that captured widespread attention was the disappearance of the USS Cyclops in 1918, a massive naval cargo ship carrying over 300 men and a full load of manganese ore. It vanished without sending a distress call. Despite extensive searches, not a single piece of wreckage was ever found. This absence, this total silence in the face of such a colossal disappearance, planted the seed of a narrative that would grow to envelop countless other stories. The 20th century amplified these mysteries. Perhaps the most famous was Flight 19, 5 Navy torpedo bombers on a routine training mission in December 1945. Pilots reported strange navigational problems, instruments spinning wildly, and a sense of disorientation unlike anything they had experienced. One by one, the planes vanished, never to be seen again. The rescue planes sent to find them also disappeared, as if the triangle had claimed not only the initial travelers, but those who sought to uncover the truth. These events have been repeated in various forms over decades. The Carol A. Deering, the disappearance of the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, and countless smaller, often unrecorded incidents involving private yachts and cargo ships. The triangle seems to act as both stage and storyteller, weaving a narrative of fear and fascination that refuses to fade. Scientists have sought explanations grounded in reason and observation. They note that the region is prone to sudden, violent storms, waterspouts, and hurricanes. The Gulf Stream, one of the most powerful ocean currents on the planet, moves with enormous force and unpredictability, capable of overwhelming ships in moments. Magnetic anomalies have been studied extensively, showing localized variations that could interfere with compasses and navigation systems. Other research points to the presence of massive deposits of methane hydrate beneath the ocean floor. If these deposits were to erupt suddenly, releasing bubbles of gas, the density of the water would decrease so rapidly that vessels might sink almost instantly. And yet, despite all these theories, there remain anomalies that defy explanation. Electronic instruments fail, radio signals disappear, pilots report sudden fogs, and witnesses see strange lights and phenomena. Science can explain much, but it does not explain all. The triangle has also given rise to speculative theories that stretch the boundaries of imagination. Some suggest it is a portal, a region where the fabric of space and time is distorted. Here, past, present, and future may overlap, creating loops and anomalies in temporal perception. Witnesses have described clocks behaving erratically, minutes stretching into hours, and memories of events that seem displaced in time. Others speculate about ancient civilizations, lost technologies, or remnants of Atlantis influencing the region. Could there be energy fields or unknown forces at play, invisible to human perception, but capable of altering the physical world? Some suggest extraterrestrial involvement, abducting vessels into dimensions beyond our comprehension. While these ideas may seem fantastical, they reveal something fundamental about humanity. Our need to confront the unknown, to find meaning in mystery, and to imagine forces beyond our control. The human fascination with the triangle is not solely about fear. It is about the quest to understand, to probe boundaries, to challenge the limits of knowledge. Explorers and scientists venture into these waters with courage, seeking to chart, measure, and comprehend what resists understanding. Yet the ocean is not passive. It has moods, histories, and memories stretching back millions of years. To navigate the triangle is to enter a living, breathing entity, a space where technology and logic often falter, where chaos and uncertainty are the primary forces. Each expedition becomes an encounter with the unknown, a dialogue between human curiosity and the vast, indifferent ocean. Consider the case of the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a tanker carrying molten sulfur which disappeared in 1963. Witnesses reported strange weather conditions and unexplained lights near the site. Despite extensive searches, only fragments were found, leaving questions about the precise circumstances of its loss. Or the Carol A. Deering, discovered abandoned off the coast of North Carolina in 1921, with lifeboats missing and cargo intact, raising questions that still remain unanswered. These stories create a tapestry of mystery, blending factual record with human imagination, challenging the boundary between the known and the unknown. Time itself, it seems, behaves differently within the triangle. Pilots and sailors have reported feeling as though time slows or accelerates, as if the ocean manipulates perception. Some theorists suggest gravitational anomalies or disruptions in Earth's electromagnetic field could distort time locally, while others propose more speculative ideas, localized pockets where time folds upon itself, creating loops that capture vessels in a temporary limbo. Whether this is metaphorical, psychological, or physical, it adds an entirely new layer to the mystery, suggesting that the triangle is not merely a geographic location, but a region where reality itself is questioned. And yet, amid the fear and speculation, the Bermuda Triangle exerts a magnetic allure. It calls to those who seek adventure, knowledge, and the thrill of confronting the unknown. Every expedition, every attempt at navigation becomes an intimate dialogue with the ocean's power and unpredictability. The triangle tests human ingenuity, courage, and perception, reminding us that mastery over nature is often illusory. The forces that govern the sea are ancient, immense, and indifferent to human concerns. Within the triangle, these forces are amplified, a crucible for human curiosity and resilience. Modern technology has illuminated many mysteries of the oceans, yet the triangle retains its enigmatic character. Satellite tracking, sonar mapping, and precise navigation tools reveal much about the seafloor, currents, and weather patterns, but anomalies persist. Vessels continue to disappear. Electronic malfunctions continue to confound. Pilots continue to report disorientation. The triangle refuses to yield completely to human understanding, as if it is a deliberate space set aside by the universe to remind us of our limits. Philosophically, the Bermuda Triangle challenges our assumptions about certainty, control, and comprehension. It represents the tension between human rationality and the vast, chaotic forces of nature. Each disappearance, each anomaly, is a confrontation with our own fragility, a reminder that knowledge is provisional and understanding is never complete. The triangle is a mirror, reflecting not only the mysteries of the sea, but the mysteries within us, our fears, our curiosity, and our longing to transcend limitations. Every story from the Triangle, from the Cyclops to Flight 19, from the Carol A. Deering to the Mary Celeste, speaks to a deeper truth. The universe contains phenomena that evade neat categorization. These events compel us to question what is possible, to expand the boundaries of imagination, and to accept that some mysteries may remain unresolved. And yet this acceptance is not resignation. It is an invitation, a challenge to continue exploring, measuring, observing, and imagining. The Bermuda Triangle endures because it embodies duality, danger and fascination, fear and curiosity, science and myth. It is a space where the known and unknown coexist, where empirical investigation meets legend, and where the human mind encounters forces beyond its full comprehension. It is simultaneously terrifying and alluring, a paradox that reflects the complexity of the universe itself. In the end, the Bermuda Triangle is more than a patch of ocean. It is a narrative, a living story, written across waves, currents, and winds. It is a testament to the human spirit, our unending desire to explore, to question, and to confront the unknown. It reminds us that mystery is not a void to be feared, but a horizon to be approached with courage, wonder, and respect. The triangle calls to us not only to understand the ocean, but to understand ourselves, our limitations, and our boundless potential for curiosity and discovery. So when you think of the Bermuda Triangle, do not see only fear. See a challenge, see a lesson, see an eternal invitation to venture beyond certainty, to explore what lies hidden beneath the waves, and to encounter the profound truth that the universe is far greater, stranger, and more magnificent than we can ever fully grasp. And in facing it, we face not only the ocean, but the infinite possibilities within ourselves. Imagine standing at the edge of the desert where the golden sands stretch endlessly toward the horizon, shimmering beneath a sun that seems eternal. Out of this vast emptiness rise structures so immense, so precise, and so enigmatic that they defy everything we think we know about human history. The pyramids of Egypt, silent and immovable for thousands of years, still whisper questions into the winds. Who built them? How were they made? And perhaps most haunting of all, why? For centuries, scholars, explorers, mystics, and dreamers have tried to unravel the truth behind these colossal monuments, yet the deeper we search, the more the mystery grows. They are not just piles of stone, they are riddles carved into the very bones of the earth, monuments that refuse to surrender their secrets. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the largest of them all, is made from more than 2.5 million blocks of limestone and granite, some weighing more than 50 tons. Each one was cut, transported, and placed with a precision that rivals even our modern engineering. To build such a structure today would require massive cranes, trucks, and computer modeling, yet somehow, more than 4,000 years ago, it was achieved with tools that were supposedly simple. How could this be possible? Did they use long ramps stretching for miles, dragging blocks with ropes and sheer manpower? Did they harness some now-lost technology, something that could move stone as easily as we move words across a page? Or is there something more, something that points to knowledge far beyond their time? Look closer, and the mystery deepens. The sides of the Great Pyramid are aligned almost perfectly to the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, with an accuracy of a fraction of a degree. Even with modern instruments, achieving such precision is no simple task. How did ancient Egyptians, with no compasses and no satellites, align their pyramids so precisely? Some suggest they used the stars, observing the night sky until the heavens themselves revealed the directions. Others argue that they must have had instruments we have never discovered, technologies forgotten by time. But the question lingers, why was such precision important? Were the pyramids not just tombs, but cosmic markers, aligned with forces greater than ourselves, built to mirror the heavens upon the earth? Mathematics seems to be carved into their very design. Ratios within the Great Pyramid hint at knowledge of pi and the golden ratio, numbers that appear again and again in the natural world, from the spirals of galaxies to the petals of flowers. How could a civilization from so long ago encode such advanced concepts into stone? Was it coincidence, or was it intentional? A deliberate embedding of universal truths within their architecture. Some researchers argue that the pyramid was not merely a monument, but a message, a stone-bound equation meant to endure as long as time itself, a statement that the builders understood something far deeper about the universe than we give them credit for. Step inside, and the mystery transforms into something almost otherworldly. Narrow passageways twist through the heart of the pyramid, leading to chambers whose purposes remain unclear. One chamber holds a massive granite box, too large to have been moved through the corridors. It must have been placed during construction, but what was its purpose? No mummies have been found within the Great Pyramid. If it was truly a tomb, where is the body? Where is the evidence of burial? Instead, we find empty halls, silent stone boxes, and shafts that point directly toward specific stars, as though the pyramid was less a tomb and more a machine, an astronomical device, a spiritual gateway, or perhaps something beyond our imagination. Legends abound, weaving through the gaps left by history. Some claim that the pyramids were built not by humans at all, but with the help of beings from beyond the earth, extraterrestrials who gifted humanity knowledge and power. Others suggest that the pyramids are remnants of a lost civilization, perhaps Atlantis, whose wisdom vanished beneath the seas but left behind these indestructible markers. Such theories are dismissed by many academics, but their allure persists. After all, when the rational fails to satisfy, the mind turns toward the extraordinary. Yet the more grounded theories are no less fascinating. The Egyptians saw life and death not as opposites, but as two sides of the same journey. To them, the pyramid may have been more than a structure. It was a vessel, a bridge between worlds, its sharp edges cutting toward the sky, its corridors leading into darkness. It was designed as a cosmic pathway for the soul, guiding it toward eternity. The shafts that align with Orion or the North Star may have been routes for the spirit to ascend, to join the stars in the eternal heavens. The pyramid, then, was not just stone, it was a philosophy, a belief system etched into the earth, a declaration that death was not the end, but a transformation. And still, questions linger. Why are there so many pyramids scattered across the globe? From Egypt to Mesoamerica to Asia, cultures separated by oceans and millennia all built pyramid-like structures. Is it mere coincidence that humanity everywhere seemed drawn to this shape? Or does the pyramid tap into something universal, a hidden archetype buried in the human psyche? Or perhaps a truth about energy and form that we have yet to understand? Some fringe researchers argue that pyramids harness natural energies, acting as giant batteries or transmitters. They point to experiments where small pyramids seem to preserve food or sharpen razor blades, suggesting that shape itself has power. Could the Great Pyramid have been an enormous energy device capturing forces we cannot yet comprehend? The truth may be less sensational, but no less profound. The pyramids represent what humans can achieve when driven by vision, belief, and unity. They are proof that our ancestors were not primitive, but brilliant, capable of feats that challenge us even today. Whether powered by lost knowledge, divine inspiration, or sheer determination, they remind us of the limits of our understanding, of how much remains unknown in a world we often think we have mastered. They force us to confront mystery, to admit that the past holds truths that can still astonish us. The pyramids stand as eternal symbols of the human spirit's reach for the impossible, but perhaps their greatest secret is not in how they were built or even why, but in what they do to us when we stand before them. The pyramids are not just monuments of stone, but monuments of wonder, enduring across millennia to whisper the same question into every generation. What else lies hidden, waiting to be discovered? Imagine waking up every morning with a dream in your heart, a vision of the person you want to become, and the life you want to live. Yet, as the hours pass, you feel the weight of laziness pressing down on you, whispering that you can do it tomorrow, that today doesn't matter. Laziness is not just the absence of action. It is the slow and silent thief of time, a voice that convinces you to stay where you are instead of moving forward. The truth is, every single person on this planet feels lazy sometimes. Even the most successful, the most disciplined, and the most admired individuals have faced the same inner resistance. The difference is not that they never felt lazy, but that they refuse to let laziness define them. So how can you overcome it? The first step is to understand that discipline is not about sudden bursts of motivation. because motivation comes and goes like the wind. Discipline is built through small choices, repeated every single day until they become part of who you are. You will never wake up one morning magically transformed into a disciplined person. You become disciplined by doing the small, boring, uncomfortable things even when you don't feel like it. Laziness thrives when you give it space, when you allow your comfort zone to feel like home. But greatness is never built in comfort. Growth happens only when you step into discomfort, when you do the work, even when your body screams no, and your mind begs for rest. Think of your goals like seeds buried in the ground. If you water them only when you feel like it, they will never grow. But if you commit to watering them every day, no matter how tired, no matter how distracted, those seeds will break through the soil and rise toward the sun. That is what consistency does. It transforms invisible effort into visible change. The secret to beating laziness is not fighting it head on, but outsmarting it. Break your goals into smaller steps, so small that laziness cannot argue against them. Do not say, I will work out for an hour every day. Say, I will do 5 push-ups today. And once you start, momentum will carry you further than you imagined. The human brain craves progress, and each small victory rewires your identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone who wishes for change, but as someone who creates it. Commitment is not a feeling, it is a decision. You do not wait until you feel ready. You act, and readiness follows. You do not wait until you feel motivated. You build habits, and motivation grows as a result. Every great transformation in history began with a single person who chose to move forward when it was easier to stand still. If you want to change your life, you must understand this. Laziness is temporary, but regret is permanent. The pain of discipline lasts for minutes, but the pain of regret can last a lifetime. You will never look back and say, I wish I had wasted more time. But you might look back and whisper, if only I had been consistent. You are stronger than you think. You are capable of more than you imagine. Within you lies the power to rewrite your story, to rise each day with determination, and to build a life that reflects your true potential. Every time you choose action over laziness, you are shaping a future self who is stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. And one day, you will realize that the chains of laziness were never stronger than your will to break free. And finally, I want to say this. You already know that my content is cultural and perhaps a little diverse at times, but I chose to include these videos as part of my work, not simply for entertainment or to explore the mysteries of the universe, or even just for the thrill of fascinating topics. I chose them as a way to support you, to guide you, and to remind you that every idea, every reflection, and every story I share is ultimately meant for you. In your hand is a piece of paper, no different from the millions of others that pass through hands every day. The American dollar. Just a tool for buying and selling, right? But pause for a moment, look closer. You will find symbols unlike numbers or ordinary text. An eye staring from the top of a truncated pyramid, stars arranged in a strange pattern, emblems that seem as if they stepped out of an ancient book on hidden secrets. Why? Why does the dollar carry such symbols? Are they mere artistic decorations? Or are they secret messages waiting for centuries to be read? The Eye of Providence. This symbol alone is enough to stir suspicion. Some say it represents divine guidance, but others see in it an ancient Masonic signature, a sign of a power that watches and controls. The Unfinished Pyramid. A broad base representing the people, while the missing top represents the elite that rules from above. Isn't this a symbolic picture of an invisible class system? And the 50 stars, the eagle, And the old Latin phrases like Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order, all seem designed to say something beyond mere national pride. And here comes the chilling question. Are these just artistic symbols chosen by a currency designer at the Treasury? Or are they the secret signature of a group that wanted to leave its mark at the heart of the American economy? If the dollar is the lifeblood of the global economy, isn't it logical that hidden messages within it carry meanings far beyond decoration? From this point, the real mystery begins. Some connect these symbols to the idea of a shadow government. The concept suggests that America is not merely a country governed by an elected president and a voting public, but a facade for another system. A secret power has been operating behind the scenes since the founding of the nation, controlling major decisions, foreign policies, and even wars. According to these theories, this power is the same that places the symbols, writes the slogans, and directs the grand stage from behind the curtain. Some say Freemasonry, or at least elite groups stemming from it, left their mark on the foundational documents of the United States, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and even on its national currency. Perhaps these symbols were an unspoken declaration that we have been here since the beginning, steering the system and shaping its future. No one sees them, yet their influence is everywhere. And it doesn't stop with symbols. If you examine history closely, you will find that the major decisions that changed the course of the world, from the creation of the Federal Reserve to great wars to mapping the global economy, often took place behind closed doors in meetings attended only by an elite of bankers, politicians, and businessmen. Are these historical coincidences, or a coherent system where America plays the role of a front while the real power remains in the shadows? The New World Order theory suggests there is a vast financial network controlling the flow of money, media, and even historical narratives. In this scenario, the dollar becomes more than just a currency. It becomes a symbol of a larger, more dangerous system. That eye atop the pyramid may not be just an eye, but a message from the power that watches everything. That Latin motto may not just be a slogan, but a declaration of intentions spanning centuries. Yet the question remains open. Are we facing hidden truths unknown to the public, or merely illusions fueled by conspiracy fantasies? Is the American dollar truly a book open to those who can read its symbols, or are we projecting more meaning onto these symbols than they contain? What is certain is that these messages, whether real or imagined, have created an aura of mystery around the world's most powerful currency, making every banknote feel like a piece of a much larger puzzle. In the end, the dollar may not just be money to buy coffee or pay bills, but a ticket into a hidden world, a world of secret networks and shadow powers that shape history, a world where nothing happens by chance, and where symbols are not mere decoration, but the signature of those who rule from the shadows.